Hey Reefers! At ReefStock, we only unfortunately got to film one of the guest speakers. Luckily though, it was friend of the channel, Ania from Gallery Aquatica. And here she is talking about how to frag zoas.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for coming to listen to my chat. For those of you that don't know me, well, you know my name, but I work at Gallery Aquatica. I have had a job in the aquarium industry technically since 1996, but properly professional since 2000. So doing that math, I guess 20 years of being in our industry, I've seen a lot of changes over time, and I've never would ever claim to sort of not know it all, you know, that we're just always learning. It's part of one of the best reasons why I think this hobby is just so awesome. And so one of the trends that I have seen over those 20 years, of course, is propagating corals. You know, I was around at the years when coral was being sold in a way that it was like a cut flower kind of situation. You know, you purchase this, it's not going to make it in 6 months, you buy another one. Like, it is so incredible to me how much things have changed over time with the onset of technological advancements, chemistry, our general understanding, as I'm sure you're all aware. So historically, wild zoanthids, zoas are my favorite. They, hands down, I love lots and lots of coral, like I really do. I've got a top 50 or something, but like definitely in the top 3 zoanthids. And I don't know if it's like the collector mania concept that I just kind of need to have one of everything, or the rainbow array of options, but either way, something really resonates with me when it comes to the different variants of zoanthids available. So much so even that I really like a big bucket list thing for me to do. I really want to publish a book about zoanthid identification, and I really hope that I get a real kick out of when people are just as passionate about coral, any coral, as me. But so historically, wild coral collectors, they were taking big chunks of coral. You know, the quota system was a little different back then, and so you would often get these big chunks of live rock with a whole heap of different corals even within that rock. And Zoa rocks as a wild, you know, sort of source were certainly far more prominent on the scene at LFS compared to now, where I think if you go to most of your stores, you will just see them propagated on nice clean tiles. So this sort of initiated because there are so many pests and that come along with zoanthid rocks, and it just seems to be like the perfect haven for not just zoa-eating nudibranchs, but even you see Aptasia seem to kind of nestle in amongst the polyps, Majanos, you get the boring mussels, the sponges up in the rock, and when these things are removed out of water, they can perish, rot, and then really even start to impact on the colony, the healthy colony of coral above. So fragging these rocks, it was never typically something that a coral collector would even do. You know, you order Zoa rock, you get it, and me being such an obsessed collector of them, if they ever sent us one new color, you know, obviously me and people like me would really appreciate that being conserved, preserved, to share with other people like me. So I think people started fragging not just to share coral, you know, obviously that's a huge benefit, but they started fragging because live rock was also starting to eat into coral quota systems. It's all weight-based, and you were this way ensuring that you were eliminating as much pests as possible. Not only that, but the other benefit, of course, of fragging a colonial coral like zoanthids is that with each successive generation of captive-grown polyps, you also gain this like a resilience, I guess, to it by being in captivity. You find we are fragging the brightest of the acro, or the brightest, best, fastest growing zoas to share, and it just tends to go hand in hand, so that when you are buying a frag, if that had originated from a wild rock 7 years ago, you're really nearly 100% guaranteed that no matter how you treat it, it will really be so resilient. The technical aspect of fragging zoanthids really, fragging coral actually isn't difficult. We all know this, and so when Dave asked me to show something today, I have never done a zoanthid video on our YouTube channel because I feel so passionate. It's a topic so close to my heart, and I don't want to do it wrong, and I want it to be so perfect, so I've always been pushing it back. Oh, maybe I'll do it next time. So I thought this way, by offering this to you today, I'd be giving you something fresh and information that I've sort of learnt along the way. So I guess the first thing that's important to talk about is the gear that we're going to use when we're fragging. So we have, of course, a nice, really clean blade. I do like to often have backups. Some people are really particular and they, use a different blade for every coral and stuff. But I often, when I'm a bit suspicious about something I'm fragging, I'll just pop the blade into an iodine-based dip. Obviously, that's antibacterial, so that's going to be probably enough, and that. Yeah, and so we've got some scalpels. I like to use disposable ones. When I do fragging, it's such a luxurious pastime for me. I wish I could frag 40 hours a week, but I leave it as my, bonus round job task. And when I do it, I don't. This takes a little while to set up, so I tend to do 200 to 300 frags every time I do a fragging session, so it kind of just gets pushed back until it becomes evident. All our staff are like, hey, there are no Zoa frags left, or whatever, and so then I make it a priority. However, sorry, I don't mean to ramble. I'm not great at public speaking. So anyway, you need some snippers, and I always have a backup too, because so many times I've gone to cut something and you don't actually know how strong it is. You don't want to break your wrist, of course. These thicker stainless steel coral cutters, I actually feel far more comfortable with these ones. The point is far more kind of directed, but that's not going to cut, a Duncan or a Stag or something. So these are my favorite. If that doesn't work, I'll move on to the heavy duty ones. There are quite a few brands that are marketed under this very same brand. And Shane Danger has a good tip with preventing corrosion that I probably need to employ, and he actually gets a coconut oil after fragging and wipes his tools down and stuff. I'm a little time poor for being that diligent, but I do aspire, yeah. Anyway, and so we've got the stuff to cut. We've got frag plugs, of course, and it doesn't matter what coral you're cutting. It's really important to get your porcelain frag plugs and soak them first. I guess you could use fresh water, but I tend to just use the water from the tank that I'm, putting the coral back and forth in, and that is mainly to prevent the bubbles coming back up when you put your glue down and put your coral down and you put it in the water. The bubbles can really impede on the whole fragging session. It can ruin your frag. It can, dislodge the glue, maybe the coral too, and what a waste of time. So, just always want to soak your frag plugs. So, often I know what size frags I need. I have a favorite, like we probably all do. I tend to like the really small ones with a stem. But there are ones that are like fake artificial rocks, they're flat, or like big, round, flat ones. Those ones are really good if you want to do a mother colony, the bigger ones, because once you successfully get that wild zoanthid off the wild rock. And captive grown growth is occurring on the porcelain. I feel like that's like your real goal for success with zoas. There have been so many times that I have received a wild rock of zoas and it's the most incredible colour and new, and the best moment for me personally, I get my macro camera under the water, I take a photo, and as I'm loading, I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to see? And then the colours, like there's like an orange bit or, something that you don't always see to the eye, and that kind of detail is something that I really get into. And I think other people like me also appreciate. So then I feel this pressure, I have to, the coral collectors all know how obsessed I am. So they often will try and get you to order by offering you this new zoanthid, and that gets me every time. So I think they know how to, reel me in. And so then I feel this responsibility, of course. So I guess I just wanted to break down today's demo because there's a difference between fragging a wild rock with intent to simply have some success with survival, which then you can get some captive grown growth, which then you can frag and share. I think it's at that level that is the most successful way to ensure success and survivability. And then of course, how easy, once you've got it on that porcelain plug, from there on in, you're pretty much laughing with how easy it could be to frag, right? So I guess at this point, we've got some cutters. I really like having a turkey baster. We sell these at work, but any kind of a pipette, large pipette is really handy. The main reason, if you pour water over the top once you've done your glue, it sets the glue and doesn't, like if you dunk it and wet glue, it can potentially come back up and envelope all your hard work, and glue isn't that toxic, but it can also, cause stress to the coral, so you don't want to do that. And that's, of course, with any coral. This is the system. I've tried even a spray gun lately, but I just keep forgetting to use it. And so this now is probably the number one reason why I've never done the video, because I'm going to share a secret with you. I don't use PPE. And I can put this on.
Is this how you're fragging today?
No.
It's got to be safe.
My dad actually gave me these at the start of COVID. This was his solution to no face masks. Hilarious. I'm like, one day I'll do a fragging Zoa and I'll use it. Yeah, so here I am. Excuse me. So, and then of course, everyone's logical, solution is gloves. And I don't want anyone to come out of here going, well, Ania said don't use gloves, and you go and do something stupid. But personally, my experience with having gloves on is that I just don't get the control required to make that cut safe enough with such a small polyp. Not just safe for me, safe for the coral. The worst possible thing for me would be to cut a Zoa polyp in half. Some people are a bit rougher with them, but I respect every single one of these little polyps. So, you want, if you've got 100, you want to keep 100 alive, right? So again, if you feel uncomfortable watching me, it's here, but I would be really extra nervous if I had to put this on for you, because I don't do it like that. And my justification was probably, I wear glasses, so I have PPE on naturally. But when we did science at uni, they still made me put freaking glasses over my glasses, so I'm not going to do that either. But you can.
What about palytoxin?
Oh well, that's exactly my next point. Thank you. So. The main reason why this is such a serious topic and why people sort of shy away from fragging zoanthids is because of the palytoxin. And palytoxin, for those of you who aren't as aware, it is the second most toxic substance in the world, and it is present. I'm living on the edge, I like it. And it is present in are all Palythoa at very high concentrations, and that is the genus Palythoa. And species range, there are so many different species of Palythoa, and it has been detected in a range of Zoanthids. And when I say Zoanthids in this sense, zoas, I'm talking about species within the genus Zoanthus, and that does not include Palythoa. I do not personally keep Palythoa, frag them, sell them. I don't trade them. I appreciate how beautiful they are, but I personally would not like our business to be responsible for any silly thing that anyone could possibly do with a Palythoa to get poisoned. And I'm not here to talk about the toxin. However, I needed to touch on it. So my number one take home is be capable of identifying what is a true Palythoa and what is a Zoanthus. And my idol Julian Sprung has actually done the most incredible video. It's on YouTube and it's called The Power of Palythoa. And if you want any more information about that, I would certainly suggest it's the most incredible story. And it actually does begin very clearly with Julian explaining how to tell the difference between a Paly and a Zoa. And so why people get away with calling them Zoas, Palyzoas, is because it's the order Zoantheria, right? So it's not wrong to say a Zoa, but it's a Paly. But when I'm talking about Zoa, I'm talking about genus Zoanthus, right? So anyway, the main thing to know is that in Julian's video, not to want to spoil it, he's got a great story there. You need to watch it. But he identified that this palytoxin is not just the slimy crap that comes from the side edges of Palythoa polyps. It's actually aerosolized. This toxin has the potential to impact people in the room, your pets, and this is why you hear the silly stories about people boiling a rock and poisoning their family. Like, I can't think of anything more ridiculous than to boil a live rock anyway, but this happens. It's like real cases. So anyway, I assure you I'm not fragging any Palythoa today, so you're not at any risk of getting aerosolized toxins. And as for like the bazillion of different variants within these zoanthids species that we trade, there is actually no, at this stage, to my knowledge, there's not any determined studies whereby they've sort of established, oh well, eagle eyes have this many milligrams per litre, and pink zippers have this many, and there's no study being done, and that's why we have to always act with caution. And so I'm going to tell you some lessons that I learned as a novice fragger of zoanthids that I don't do anymore, because I have felt the impact of palytoxin. It wasn't extreme. Level 1 palytoxin toxicity starts with a metallic taste in your mouth. And I do understand that everyone would have a different sensitivity to toxins, just like you're allergic to fish and whatever else. So I have gone to that level very many times, particularly in the very early days of fragging for Galleria aquatica. And that was because I used to drink vodka while I fragged. And I'm Polish, it's part of our lives. And I don't have vodka here today, but soon. And that's stupid. That is a surefire way to potentially, any slime of an undetected, that's so dumb. And I'm doing it in a closed room too. That was a bit silly, an airy space, a window, a door open. That's great. And so I used to dance, I'd be the vodka, the music, and because fragging, no joke, it's my favorite thing to do, and it's all encompassed. It's if I get to frag, I put on reef therapy or the hot music, and it's my moment. This is what I'm here for. So the second stage after the heavy metal, if you don't detect that and keep going, is kind of flu symptoms or sore back, or you feel a bit nauseous, you know, and I have never really gone past that. And thankfully, I have a phobia of eyeballs. It's weird, it's true. I've never squirted myself in the eye like Darren Hatfield from Reef Secrets has. And every time I see those posts, I just can't. I can't. So I'm grateful. I don't like my glasses, but I'm really grateful that I wear glasses because there's no risk of that happening. So, sorry to ramble. So the other thing I don't ever do while I frag zoanthids is talk. I shut my mouth, and I never used to do that. I used to just laugh and talk, and I used to, you know, and that is because of that potential for me having this. It's such a small chance, you know, because more experience, you get practice, you're not going to slip. This is like an extension of my hand. Like, I feel so comfortable with this. But when you're starting out, you don't know that, and you don't know sometimes, particularly with a live rock, a piece of wild rock, it's got crevices underneath, you don't know what's down there, and you might think that it's just a real safe, easy cut, but it's actually then going to put your blade through a different polyp or through something that, you know, is totally undetermined. So yeah, shut your mouth. You know, don't drink vodka, but you know, whatever you'd like to drink. Airflow, and I really, certainly lately, you know, the past few years, I don't ever do it while we're serving customers or while the store is open, just in case. And also, I don't like the idea of like getting all the gear out and doing it all and then starting and like putting your glue down and then I love being interrupted, it's fine, it's just not while fragging, you know, you really want to just be focused on this task, because if you leave it too long, leave them out of water for too long, all your work could be, you know, they're pretty resilient, but especially if you're fragging like quite an expensive Zoa, you don't really want to be risking it in any way. So with that all said, my true technique for getting a wild coral rock, a wild live rock, I just realized that's like a dead acro. This is going to be really hard to do. Cool. So I've got another one here, right? So what you have to imagine is that you're trying to create something flat out of something round. And I try and imagine it's like a wrapping paper over, you know, it's a wrapping paper that you're trying to flatten out. So often these rocks are going to be really round. And so my first step when I got a new wild rock, cut it in half. Just cut it in half whatever you do. Cut it in half and do not touch half. Leave it there to just chill for God knows how long. You know, just then you've got half to play with and half as a security measure. Because for whatever reason, even with all these precautions, sometimes a whole frag session, you come back the next day and the polyps aren't open, the stress, and I don't know if it's like I mixed a dip bad or something contaminated on my cutting board or what. So it's very rare actually nowadays for us to lose frags. But in the early days, the other thing where I went wrong is I would have this, you know, mother colony and have, say, 20 polyps, and I would think that you have to make 20 frags. You know, you got 20 polyps, 20 opportunities to share. That is wrong. I really think it is just super important to take it easy and kind of just determine straight away where the easy cut's going to be. And just be happy with that, you know, don't push it. If that polyp's all mushed up in some corner, you don't need to cut it off and put another, you know, just wait. You can frag a frag, you know, and so, like our store doesn't sell wild Zoa rocks anymore, and it's been 5 years or so since we have, but I certainly order them. They just go into the prop room, under quarantine, you know, and so we're hopefully never going to see Zoa eating nudibranchs because that's probably my least favorite pest. But even algae, like bryopsis, no one wants that. It comes from the ocean. It's not coming from friends. Like it's, so the longer it sits there, the better, of course. My suggestion would be wait till some captive growth occurs and then do your fragging. But say you've got your half. So then you obviously want to, I might try this one. I think it's an Utter Chaos. Anyway, so I didn't know that we'd have the opportunity to have a fancy tech, so I'm really sorry. That's why I'm talking so much, because I'm just compensating for the fact that there's no screen behind me. This is how technical zoanthid fragging gets, really. The tissue between the polyps, it's called the coenenchyme, and it is what the zoanthid polyp puts out when they're asexually reproducing and creating a new polyp. You know, some corals, they'll have like one polyp that splits into a figure eight. That's not zoas. They put out this little foot, you know, but it's called the coenenchyme, and that is the number one thing that you need to detect when you're about to do the cut. Don't be cutting the polyp without being able to identify that that coenenchyme has made contact with the surface behind it. Obviously, it is so much easier to determine the coenenchyme and your sort of tracking pathways on a flat piece of porcelain. So that initial stage of wild zoa rock to porcelain is a little more, well, it is a lot more risky, right? But from there on in, you're kind of sweet. So what I would show you if I could is that when you get your zoas and you wave them down in some water, they all shut, and you really want to do that. And some zoanthids are huge, you know, like sunny D's and Artichaeus, they're just huge. And so it takes a bit of effort. You wave, 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 and then you get a kind of clear idea of the clumps within that little colony, and then you kind of have a plan. You're gonna get with my mouth, yeah. Mum will love that. Mum will love that. Use my teeth. I can hear her going, "Don't use your teeth, Ania." So clean blade. Oh, sorry, I'm using iodine-based dip. I really enjoy the Seachem dip. There are other brands, of course, that use iodine-based dip. The reason being, particularly zoas and other soft corals, anything that has quite a prominent proportion of tissue, like not acro and Monty, really benefits from iodine anyway, so you can't really overdose it there. But I know there's a dose, and you can read it, but it's just like a tincture that I like to do. I just put it into some clear water, wave it around until it kind of looks a bit yellowy. If you're getting really excited, I mean, you can go a bit more. And that is antibacterial. It's going to prevent rot, infection, and it's definitely my choice. This, of course, does annoy pests and stuff, but this isn't the goal here. This is more about recovery, preventing stress. Another really important thing I always have is a towel, multiple towels. A towel, of course, to like dry hands, but this one is like the emergency towel in case something crazy happens and it squirts in my eye backwards or mouth or something like that. And you just want to always have something really clean to wipe your face with on hand, just in case. And also, after the dip bucket, you have a bath, because you do not want to be putting any residual iodine into your aquarium. Iodine, the element, is actually quite, it's oxidative. So you really, iodide is the beneficial form of that molecule for your corals, and so it's a bit risky, you know, mucking around with iodine. You could overdose and hurt your SPS. Soft corals love it though. I've overdosed once with iodine and everything just shines. You know, the mushrooms were just radiant, but all the acro in that system bleached, sorry. But I learned that lesson once and once only. Now we don't keep SPS with soft corals if we can help it. But of course, mixed reefing is just so fun to have that challenge. So I kind of get why everyone just tries mixed reefing. Anyway, so I think I've rambled enough, and it's time for doing some cuts. We sell coral glue gel, Gallery Aquatica brand coral glue gel. I'm only doing this because I'm so nervous and I've used this so many times, and it's my go-to gel glue. Thank you. So the reason I like this one the most, or I favour it, is because when you put it down, the gel sticks up. Sometimes you get a bit of crap in the in there, which has kind of caused a bit of a problem, but that's okay. With Zoa Frags, like cyanoacrylate will glue most Zoas, whether it's runny, I mean, it's just a bit more tedious. But I really like the gel because my thing is I would have 200, you know, and so first I do this and I do it 200 times so that I'm done with that. And the gel glues tend to be capable of just sitting out in the elements for a really long time. Like you could walk away for an hour and come back and still potentially use that frag. You don't waste the glue then. It's not cheap, you know, this gel glue, so you want to, you know, maximize its usage. So I guess we've got wet frag plugs, we've put our glue down, and I'm going to try to tackle this wild rock first. I guess it's the best thing to do. So I've, you know, annoyed it, everything's shut. I can sort of see there's even, this wild rock's pretty interesting. It's got like this flappy little bit here. And so I tend to like to ease into it because I haven't been lucky enough to frag, you know, in a week or so. I tend to like cheat and do the easy bits first. So this is actually just fallen off. And there's so many polyps here, it's a bit silly to do a frag with 20 polyps. So I use a cutting board usually, not a piece of foam. And I guess first up, even though this could probably, in most, you know, retail environments, you could probably make a whole, you know, 5 frags out of this or something. I don't want to be greedy. And the blade, it's so sharp, you just have to be confident and go for it, right? No squirting, no drama. I feel like I've just unraveled, you know, a present, and now I've got the the wrapping paper. This wild rock was actually a mixed zoanthid, and I really don't know what colours they are, but any frags that I'm making today are going to be available for free at our booth once I get back. So if you're keen today, tomorrow, head on over to our booth and then you can pick up some free Zoas. And it could be a mixed bag. They'll probably be open tomorrow, but straight after this, I'm not so sure. We'll see. So there is a fair bit of like flappy. I think my number one scary question that I get about this kind of technique is people are like, I got some Zoas, I've got it on my rockscape. It's grown out of control, like this one color, I don't like it anymore, or whatever reason. Like fragging in tank is actually quite challenging compared to this. You really want to, it's hugely beneficial if you can take that rock out. Anyway, so this, if you could see, it's like a mat, and I've just kind of used my scalpel just on the very edge, very gently, sort of scraped across, and it's almost come off like a covering. Thank you, that was easy. But my best tip is to attempt to use the coralline, like frag the coralline. Don't be expecting coral glue to be a good adhesion. Like the tissue of softies and zoanthids, it's slimy, they don't like glue, they don't want to be glued. So if you get even just a little bit of biofilm, but really a bit of coralline or like that initial first layer of the live rock, you're kind of winning. Or like, you know, a shell or anything like that. And I have seen like some of the best Zoa fraggers in Australia. You know, I'm addicted, so I buy from them. And I cannot believe some of the ways that I can see the precision where they've like gotten one polyp, completely fragged it with nothing else on the frag plug. That is risky, and I mean, I understand you got to risk it for the biscuit sometimes with these expensive frags, and you know the ones that are being sold per polyp and whatever, hundreds. But I would strongly advise not to do that if you're a beginner with this idea. You'll just have way more success if you're able to glue some porcelain with it, or you know, a little bit of coralline. So I've got in this tub, I've got some water. Because I use that seawater to just a pipette over the top. I think this is one of the best tips that someone gave me when I was a novice fragger. I have a feeling it was Frankie and Jade from Frankie's Frags, our friends. And so we put the water over the top. It's probably going to take couple minutes to set. If you're rushing at this point and you dunk this into the coral dip, you are potentially, the glue's not set yet, of course, so then you're going to lose the frag, and then you're going to have to put your hands in and get the wet glue on your hands, and it's really uncomfortable, so I wouldn't advise that. Similarly, don't shake the glue with the lid off. I've done that before. I glued my glasses to my face, like on the side. It was so embarrassing, and so many times glue in my hair, and I do often get that comment on the fragging videos I do, like, what's with the hair? You know, I'm okay, I do this a lot. I guess another tip would be just put your hair up if you're worried about it being glued or something, but I'm not worried. So anyway, after a few minutes, I understand that all these dips have an instruction, you know, 5-minute bath or something. I just dunk them a few times gently. Unless I, like something persistent like acro-eating flatworm, you know, your target pest determines how you do this, but when it's coming to like just sealing off any potential for infection, I just kind of shake it really gently and put it in the bath, and then it's just kind of ready to go. So how are we going for time, Dave? Oh, dude. Oh, over. Okay, cool. I'm like, because this is nearly the end. I don't need to chalk this up because I ramble so much. So we've done a wild rock. We've talked a little bit about those techniques. Personally, I like if someone said, "Oh, Ania, I need you to come over to my house and frag these zoas out of my tank," like that gives me anxiety. Like I know I can do it, but that is not my favorite pastime. That is not what I would like to do. My tip for that would be get these frag plugs, something flat. These are rock, you know, attractive as well, but get something with like an edge and just put it near the colony on the edge. Or like put a tiny dab of glue and glue that frag plug right next to it so that the colony you want to share that's in your DT just covers the plug for you. Wait it out, be patient, it will be worth it because you're not going to have any problems then. And then once you've got a bit of covering on the, you know, side plug, you can just get a scalpel and, you know, find the Coenzyme pathway and then just pop off the tile and then, you know, you're all good. So the last thing is just the easiest, absolutely easiest one, which is fragging from porcelain. And I think in here we've got a whole range of different, maybe, that one's probably the easiest one to do. I've waved it down, and so just reiterating that what I learnt, I'm kind of looking at frags with 4 to 5 polyps for this size zoa polyp. There are some species of Zoanthids that are much larger, you know, like Sunny D's and stuff, and yeah, they'd get away with a single polyp frag, not because I want to be stingy, just because they are such a big polyp and the Coenzyme pathway is just super clear. There are actually some Zoanthids that are collected in Western Australia that have this other kind of characteristic of, it's almost like the whole mat of zoas is a balloon on itself, and that seems to be a very minimal Coenzyme. Those are the kinds that I'm way more wary of fragging in a hurry. I just kind of get the colony, go in half, wait a few days later or a week later, frag the frag again and frag the frag, and once you're really confident, because you know you don't want to lose the colony. Every cut is an open wound at risk of infection, and more, you know, back to that palytoxin being aerosolized. So anyway, then you know you get your frag cutters, and that's the other thing too. Different porcelain. I have favorite frag plug brands and stuff, but different porcelains shatter different ways, and that can be a little bit of a surprise sometimes. So let's say just like now, it's still holding with the zoas, even though I've done the Coenzyme pathway cuts that I wanted. It didn't work out like that, which is fine. So then I'm looking at the back. Where is the crack? oh yeah, coenzyme pathway, and then you just follow it. And I'm bringing this up to my face because my fragging bench is actually very high on purpose, sort of bent, but probably the best thing would be down here, right, on the cutting board. Yeah, and then what you end up with is just being able to share far more zoanthids with the community. You can swap them at Frag days and your LFS because not all fish shops have enough time to execute this, you know, and they should generally, I would speak on their behalf, they would appreciate, I think, clean frags, you know, well-made frags to trade, you know, even if it's just for some frozen food, why not? Every propagated coral that we are trading is you know, not preventing a wild one from being taken, but, you know, it's sustainable. It's sustainable, and the captive grown polyps are more resilient, hardier, more colourful. They just tend to be better in so many ways. Yes, it's definitely time for questions.
So when you are getting wild zoa corals and, you know, over a few generations they're being grown into, have you ever found the colours are changing, or like even in a short-term period?
Most definitely. I think, unfortunately, I haven't ever been collecting wild zoanthids myself, but I am a scuba diver, and I love snorkeling. I love the ocean, and I think what's occurring with that is that the pigments are changing with exposure to our PAR, our light spectrums. Like, they might have collected this cool zoa from somewhere really shady, and maybe it actually is like super bright pink with yellow stripes, but you don't actually even see that until you put it in, just because the way our aquariums are set up, we're giving them our goal is to give them the absolute best, right? You know, the best light, the best flow, no predators, no pests, no algae to compete with, and so on. So then they have this opportunity to like be their best, you know, polyp. And I think too, I'm a real strong advocate when it comes to zoanthids, particularly to use vitamin C. An amino acid is what, you know, a liquid direct uptake amino acid is designed by all the brands. You know, every brand pretty much offers one, and they're all good, you know, as long as you use aminos, that's all I'm happy with. And that will be growing the tissue. But the amino acids that have vitamin C included tend to really accentuate zoanthid colours, and the oranges, it's almost like, you know, when you eat carrots you turn orange. It's not quite like that, but the vitamin C, I got this trick from Zoa Fraggers in the US when I went to MACNA. And they're like, what do you mean you don't use vitamin C? You a Zoa person or what? And it just wasn't heard of here. It wasn't in our products then. It slowly became incorporated in amino acid supplementation. But I came back from America, I'm like, Cam, I'm going to the chemist, I'm going to get some vitamin C powder. The frags told me to, you know, and really our whole Zoa rack, like everything red, pink, and orange just popped. And I also feel, just like with humans, it probably helps with immune system, ability to go like, you know, to open and be robust against being annoyed by pests, really. So, yeah, I think that PAR, light, preventing, like not giving the coral all the things that really causes stress, all helps to increase pigments. I actually went to coral frag down in Melbourne when I was there last month for the event, and like he had all the same zoas as we do, but they didn't look the same, and I'm like, what? I'm going to buy this, and he's like, oh, that's and he's pulling out the names, and I just couldn't believe that's the same, and he's like, oh, I got that one from you, you know, or whatever. I'm like, how different? And that can only be, he had like 20 wave makers in this coral system, and crazy lighting, you know, and just that's those kinds of differences that will do that. And that's why in the US with these nutty names, that's why they put that person's name or the business name in front of like a good one I can think of is a Tyree rainbow, right? Or orange rainbow. So we sell orange rainbow. I could be weird and like it's not an Aussie thing, but I could say, oh, this is a Gallery Aquatica orange rainbow. But like I don't really need that. You know, you don't need to pay me respect for fragging that Zoa. Like it's cool, but you might find in the US that crazy Zoa hobbyists are like, well, my, you know, X named Zoa has a different colour streak, and you know this one's got orange spots on it. And then at a swap meet, that name, it's not to get more money for the coral, it's simply for collectors like me, crazy people that are like, I need them all, to be able to ID it. And then you walk up and you're like, wait, is that an orange rainbow? That mine has green in it, like what? And they're like, no, well this is a Tyree orange rainbow. And that's why they put that name, to pay respect for the person who shared it and loved it and gave it that light and flow, of course, but more so I think all those trade names are simply like an identification tool. I don't like when you hear, you know, they just put a name on it to get more money. I really don't like that. I think there's way more to it. Like, you don't go to a shop and get an apple, you get a Granny Smith apple. It's still the same species as the Red Delicious, but you may not want, you know, you might want a sour apple, like, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with calling it a Granny Smith, you know, so that's my best analogy for that. Yeah, any other questions?
We were talking about growth rates, Ania.
Yeah.
We obviously know that some polyps grow a lot smaller or replicate.
Yeah, they really do.
Is there a certain ratio that we should keep with zoas for them to grow faster, like 4 polyps, 5 to 2?
Yeah, so a real amazing trick one of Brisbane's most prominent Zoa fraggers told me early on was if you blast your colony with stronger flow, it's almost like they get this trigger for growth. It's like, you know, I got to hold on. Let's put out more, you know, tissue. And it's kind of like us and exercising. You know, people use gym supplements. They drink aminos. They have that, you know, direct uptake protein source to then be able to work out and get more muscle, you know, tissue. So it's similar. So. Yeah.
We collect our solids from exactly the same points, ledges, these places where grooves are in the reef, where the flow's coming through fast.
Yeah, for sure. And I think while you're blasting it and like if you're trying to maximize growth of any tissue on any coral, the amino acid is in a zoanthid its only source. Like, it doesn't need calcium, it doesn't have a skeleton. So I guess tailoring, you know, adding that daily dose of amino acids at the very beginning of the photoperiod so that they've got then the entire duration of the photoperiod to utilize that additional energy to convert to tissue growth is going to maximize, you know, how fast they grow. Though, I mean, I've got some zoas that are like 1 polyp a year growth, and they're in the tank with, you know, and I think that could be the difference between species. Like, there aren't that many species of zoanthids, but there are a lot of variants within each species, just like us. You know, I have blonde hair, someone may have brown hair. You know, we are both the same species, but we look different, we are different, we think different, and we have different resilience to different chemicals and everything. And so I think often that's why it's hard. We make generalizations in this hobby to try and make it really easy for everyone, especially when you're new, because there's so much you can know or say, but at the end of the day, I mean, you look at your parameters, things that you really can easily manipulate first, water tests, you know, dosing, and then you can hone in on anything particular that might be impeding the growth, you know.
I say, like, those real hard to grow polyps, the collectors can almost say where the photograph is dirty water, and you can hold it and just want more.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really... I think Shane will touch on, I just suspect Shane will touch on this on his talk tomorrow, but I'm not too sure when people say dirty water quite what that means. Like, is that turbidity? Oh yeah, cool, yeah, all right, yeah, that makes sense. I guess also with lots of sediment and particles in the water comes food sources, even just bacterial silt. Coral just loves that, you know, when you like stir up your sump, well, some people may have really clean sump, but you know, you stir up your sump and then you get all that. Yeah, and all coral polyps just really love that, I think. Yeah, just like us too, diversifying diet, that'll help increase success too, I think. Yeah. So I truly think I've taken up enough of your time, and I really appreciate the opportunity to get up here. David and Reef Builders, thank you for giving me the experience of public speaking.
Can you do like a podcast?
Oh my God. I think, oh, that's so kind. Pardon?
Do we frag any coral yet?
No, no frags. No free frags, it was just all a gimmick. No, I 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I made 10 frags.
Amazing.
Yeah. If I'd known there was like we could put a camera on, I guess I could have just, it would be like a frag with me, you know, like when you watch people put on makeup but they're actually talking about a different story or something. Yeah, things like that. But anywho.
So these frags are going to be over at the
Yep.
Gallery Aquatica booth?
Yep. I'm just going to use up the last of the glue.
Walk in.
Yep. Yeah. So the whole promos that I did, I was saying, oh, booth 26, booth 20, we're booth 24. Yeah. Fine Pebble got a whole bunch of people. You know, I'm kidding. So yeah, we'll have a little section, and if you'd like one of these free frags, come see us later, up till 4 or tomorrow. That's fine. Totally fine.
So I'm sure you guys can agree that it's legit when I say you can just listen to Ania talk about
Oh.
The rambling and the history is really interesting to know.
Yeah.
Get a better picture.
Yeah, and it's like you have to put it all into perspective, right? Like coral, buying coral as a product, it's not Woolworths. You know, you can't just coral collectors' lists are always so diversified. You know, you don't know what they're going to find every week when they're going out there, and of course, it's all determined by weather patterns and wind, and you know, and also some divers, like, they focus more on their favorite things, or you know, so I think. Look, I'm rambling again. Yep, that's good. Yeah.
Can we cue like the Bogies music?
Yeah, close the curtain. And bring vodka.
Like dragging them off stage. That's one more thing. I think everyone definitely will have maybe a thing or 300 to that sort. And you know, the only person that would be allowed to go at the time would be Ania. So
Thank you.
thank you very much. And give her a big round.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, guys, if you've enjoyed today's video, like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, be excellent to each other and keep it salty.
See you guys.
Bye.